Some video games are just way too good to put down. You know, the game that you play for thousands of hours without ever getting bored. I used to think that playing for any more than 3 hours in one day was insane, and then I managed to play 37 hours of Breath of the Wild in my first 48 hours of owning it.
Spectacular. Give me 14 of them right now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's in here?
I don't care, don't tell me.
My brother sunk an inconceivable amount of time into GTA Online, and one of my friends has more kills in Destiny 2 than the population of New Mexico. We all have a game that we could play forever, a game with an insane replay value. You'd think that a forever game would be something like a live service that's always updated, or maybe a massive open world with loads of content, but it's not necessarily limited to just that. What truly makes a game replayable? The replayability of a game depends on many factors, but I think it mainly comes down to 3: content, gameplay loop, and nostalgia. Although each of the 3 can increase the replayability of the game on their own, I think that it's best when at least 2 of these factors are present. How do these factors work though? The amount of content in a game and the rate that it's being added is an incredibly important factor in making a game replayable. If a game launches with a ton of content, it's going to keep me hooked for a while. There are only so many hours in a day, and only so many hours I can play video games before I get fired from my job. But that content has to be meaningful. Nobody's going to care if there are 45 hours worth of fetch quests. Plenty of Ubisoft games have a billion fetch quests that contribute absolutely nothing to the experience, so people aren't going to go back and replay the game. A Yakuza game, however, has actually meaningful side content. You get invested in the storyline. You actually want to go through the gameplay to see the end of the side quest.
どや楽しんどるか
Skyrim is another great example. The side quests make me feel like I really am going on an adventure, and those side quests truly help build my character. In fact, they were so much fun that despite the fact that I've sunk over 150 hours into the game, I still haven't beaten the main story. Adding lots of side quests that are actually meaningful mean that no one playthrough will be the same, so you'll actually be incentivized to play the game again so that you can have a new experience. Too much content can be a problem though. If main story content takes a while to complete, I think that'll end up being a turnoff. Take Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for example. It's a game that changed my life.
Handling a man's turtle.
Easily one of my favorite games of all time, but I'm probably not gonna replay it because it takes 70 hours to beat the game. As amazing as those 70 hours may be, I always end up feeling like those 70 hours would be better spent on games that I haven't played yet. In fact, sometimes a relative lack of content can actually be a good thing for replayability. Portal was a revolutionary game. It's so much fun, but it's also very short. It only took me about 3 hours to beat it on my first try, and I've been able to whittle my playthrough times down to about an hour. The fact that the game is short means that it's more approachable to me if I want to replay it. I can replay it without feeling super guilty about not using my time to play something new, because in reality, I didn't spend that much time replaying it at all. The rate at which content is being added can be huge too. If content is always being added, it'll keep players coming back. Fortnite changes the map and adds some crazy twists to the gameplay every few months, so it's never too long before I find myself coming back to the game. I have plenty of friends who say, I quit Fortnite, and I'm never playing it again. But then 2 months later, there they are, hopping back into a ranked match. The updates actually have to matter though. Simply adding some skins and calling it quits won't do me any good, because at the end of the day, I'm not playing the game to earn cosmetics or grind for the sake of grinding. I'm playing the game to have a good time. Replayability extends beyond content though, and if you really focus on having a good time, you can make your game much more replayable. How do shorter games do that? Some games just aren't on a Red Dead Redemption 2 or Breath of the Wild level of content. How many hours do you think it takes to 100% Tetris? In that case, the replay value depends on the gameplay loop. Take Minecraft for example. Although there is a lot of content in that game, the gameplay loop is what truly makes it so replayable. Every world you make is completely random, meaning that you'll be exploring something entirely new every time. Add the creative freedom into the mix, and you have a game that you can play pretty much forever. It's no surprise that, despite its age, the game is still incredibly popular, and is the most sold video game of all time. I've easily spent over 1,000 hours in Minecraft between different consoles over the years. Like I mentioned earlier, Tetris is a game that has an incredibly addictive gameplay loop. Seriously, I'd be willing to bet that I've spent over 300 hours playing Tetris in my life. Sure, I owe plenty of those hours to the times I didn't pay attention in high school, but there's a reason I went to Tetris instead of Papa's Pizzeria. Each session is much different than the last, and it requires you to switch up your strategy. The use of a high high score incentivizes you to keep playing and try to get better. There's no better feeling than turning to my friend in class and telling him to suck it because I one-upped him in Tetris. One big way to improve replayability is by adding multiplayer, but it doesn't always work as well as you'd think. Multiplayer makes games like Mario Kart infinitely more fun, and I've spent plenty of Friday nights playing Mario Party with my friends, but Mario Golf just does not have the same kind of magic. Why is that? As I mentioned earlier, it's important that the gameplay loop forces the player to change their strategy in some way. Mario Kart and Mario Party are all very random. They simply don't let you use the same strategy every time, and when you add multiplayer into the mix, the game becomes infinitely more chaotic. So of course it's going to be very replayable. Mario Golf and Mario Tennis don't have the same level of variety. After spending 5 hours in the online multiplayer, I pretty much cracked the code to Mario Tennis Aces, and I didn't have to put much more effort into it. I pretty much saw everything there was to see too, so every new match I played was something I'd already done. It just wasn't interesting. As a result, I got bored of the game quickly. I had a very similar experience with Mario Golf Super Rush. But sometimes, the gameplay loop doesn't matter. And sometimes, the content doesn't either. What then? I've spent at least, and I stress the at least, 400 or so hours playing Super Mario Sunshine. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff to do in that game, but I was able to 100% it after roughly 30 hours. That's less than 10% of the time I spent on the game though. And it's not like the gameplay loop is anything impressive either. Every time I replay the game, I use the exact same strategy, and I've refined my skills so well that I've been able to beat the game in just about 3 hours. So why have I played it so much? Super Mario Sunshine is one of the most nostalgic games I have ever played. I first played the game during a really good time in my life, so every time I revisit Isle Delfino, it feels like I'm being taken back to that awesome era of my life. I feel the same way about Tomodachi Life. The game doesn't have all that much content in it, and I don't have it in me to kill my Miis and make a new island, so I've pretty much seen everything the game has to offer. Still though, I come back to the game all the time and experience the same things because I have so much nostalgia for the game. I can't stress enough how important tapping into those fond memories is. When you're looking at it with the right lens, any game can be the best game ever, and any game can be played for thousands of hours. That's what makes replayability so personal. I simply can't put that much time into Farming Simulator, but my brother can easily sink over 1,000 hours. In fact, I'm pretty sure he already has. I may have felt like I've done everything in Destiny 2 after 300 hours, but my friend will go on to play almost a full year's worth of hours of Destiny 2. All in all, the replayability of a game is determined by all sorts of different factors. You might play a game because you're reliving your childhood, or you're playing it because, even after 200 hours, you still haven't seen everything. No matter the reason, replaying a game feels great, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. My backlog sheds a tear every time I decide to replay Super Mario Sunshine, but hey, those shine sprites aren't gonna collect themselves. The next time your friends make fun of you for the ungodly amount of time you've spent in that one game, wear that like a badge of honor.